fine. But a special shout out if you live in Limuru, Kijabi, Molo, those areas. By there, take care as you approach Nairobi. I'm told, or I'm made to understand, the visibility is very, very poor. Poor, like there's mist, fog, yote. Whoever was brewing the cold over the night did a spillover, and it's all over that area. So take care as you approach Nairobi. However, this remains to be the only way to start your day. Good morning, Kenya. Remember to talk to us and engage us on SMS 22162. That's the SMS line right there on your screen. Begin with the initials GMK and let us know anything, everything happening around you, and we will definitely do it justice by sampling it in the course of or the tail end of this very live production. Now, to the second item of the day. Today we'll have three, so this is the second one. And I'm sure you've heard of social enterprises, but most especially you've heard of inclusivities, special needs. Very important as we embrace goals as a nation, as we move together, because there has been a tendency in the past of people wanting to view things from an assumption point of view. But then again, how can we go ahead and empower each other to make sure that we improve society, we improve ourselves, and leave a tale and a legacy that will be appreciated by our children who are coming after us? That's the topic we'd like to discuss today. And do you have a question? I told you, 22162. That's the SMS line. Begin with the initials GMK. I've got a panel of three, a gentleman and two ladies. I'd like to introduce them to you right about now. They say ladies first, but I believe gentlemen before. Did I just say that on air? Elmond Songe, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
You're doing well this morning?
Yes.
Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Elmond Songe, as you have been told. I work at the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development.
Yes.
As a curriculum developer, and basically in the area of special needs education.
Special needs education.
Yes.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and I'd like to move on to the ladies. Beatrice?
Hi, my name is Beatrice Duta. I have come from Maimayo. I work at Ubuntu Life Foundation in the factory called Ubuntu Med. And I work with the moms who have kids with special needs.
Moms who have kids with special needs.
Yeah.
Thank you so much and welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Then I've got Wanjiro with me right here.
Yes.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm good.
Tell us a bit about yourself.
My name is Wanjiro Kanuri. I'm the Foundation Programs Manager at Ubuntu Foundation. I'm very keen when it comes to issues of inclusive education and more particularly advocacy, because over and over we've had this talk about inclusive education, and I'm very happy to engage in the discussion today as we forge ways and see how we can include everybody when it comes to education.
Absolutely, and we've mentioned a term, all of us, the four of us, we've mentioned a term, either inclusive or special needs. I'd like to come to you, Songe.
Yes.
When we talk of inclusivity, or let's start with special needs education. What are we referring to?
Actually, when it comes to special needs education, we are talking about providing education that meets the unique needs of learners who may be able differently, or they have some impairments that may not allow them to learn in the ordinary way.
Right.
So we have to make some special considerations, special provisions and accommodations to be to enable them to also acquire the skills just like any other ordinary child.
Just like any other ordinary child.
Yes.
Wanjiro, of all other courses
Yes.
you would have gotten involved in, why did you settle for special needs?
I settled on special needs because growing up, I interacted with children and persons with disability. And after my Form 4, there was a gap before joining university. Then I volunteered in different facilities that catered for children with special needs. And at that point, I made a shift, and I decided that I'll focus, or I'll take a course on special education and rehabilitation, because I also wanted something different, and special education came as a good fit for me. And after my education, I've worked with different organizations in the field of disability, and right now at Ubuntu, we're also very keen on championing the rights of children and persons with disability.
And for purposes, before I cross to you, Beatrice, I'd like to go to Songe. Yes. For purposes of this discussion, because choice of word is very, very key.
Yes.
Is it special needs education or is it inclusive education?
Actually, we have been talking about special needs education.
Yes.
As I have described, is actually just making special provisions, special considerations, accommodations. But the ultimate goal is to make sure that everybody is receiving relevant and suitable education based on their needs.
Right.
So when we are doing that, then we are ensuring that everybody is included. So that nobody is excluded from receiving education. And that's why you see in Kenya as a country, we are providing education in various modes and in various institutions. Because even if a child has a disability, they are able to learn with the others in the ordinary schools, which we call regular schools. But there are also other provisions like the special schools and even the special units. So basically what we are doing is that everybody needs to be included in the education sector.
In the education sector.
Yes.
And you know, when we're bringing up children who've got special needs, as mothers, as parents, we also have special considerations, things that we need to factor in, isn't it?
Yes.
As we bring them up. And that is where I'd like to bring in Beatrice. In the course of your job, in what you do on a day-to-day basis, what are some of these unique needs, unique circumstances that are associated with parents who have children with special needs?
What I would like to say, like, me, I had a kid with special need, and it was a very difficult time because in our society, they may refer maybe from a family, it's a curse. So the husband may say that this is a curse from your family. So then divorce comes in. That comes difficult to a mother to cater for this child and the other family. So it becomes very difficult, but when you find somewhere that you may get a group with the other kids who have kids with special need. When you come at a group, the difficulties, they just comes lower because you share what you have with the others. And most of the mothers, they used to keep their kids in the house. So you don't want somebody to say that you have a kid with special need. You don't want to take your child outside the house. So it's also was very difficult to learn that you have this kid as a blessing. So when we are there in Ubuntu, we do socialize each other and we are doing good.
I feel like there's a story behind you, Beatrice.
Yes.
If I may tap into that, tell us a little bit about your story. You said that you are a mother to a child with special needs. What's the story behind that?
I had a baby girl who was called Joy, and she later died due to meningitis. She got meningitis when she was 9 months, and there was difficult of realizing that she was suffering from meningitis. After that, the meningitis has attacked the mental, so she had to go on, she lost her sight, and she got a lot of stiffness, that the disability, she couldn't move, and that was very hard upon my life because I didn't have any job and I had to struggle. And when you don't have any job and you want to cater for this kid, it was very difficult to tell somebody, can you kindly look after my kid so I can go and wash other clothes from somewhere? Many people were saying, no, I cannot do this. And you need that kid to be taken care of. So it was very hard knowing that this life of this kid, it's like delicate. It's very delicate about this kid. So I had to struggle a lot. And doing the therapy in Naivasha district, it needs money. And when you don't have money, you just look at your kid and you say, what will happen? Yeah, that's the life that I have been going through.
Okay.
And after that, when I joined Ubuntu, that's when I found my list, because they were doing the therapy without no cost. Yeah, and I found more mothers who have kids with special needs, and they were like, oh, yours is not worse like mine. So you got the comfort.
Condolences on your baby, the loss
Thank
of your
you.
baby. Did it affect your family life? Were you married?
Yes, I was married.
You was married?
Yeah.
Or you were married, sorry.
Yeah.
Then you divorced, or your husband left?
No, we didn't divorce.
Yes.
But we had a lot of conflict saying, no, do this, do this.
So
knowing that it's like isolating that baby. Yeah.
So eventually it didn't work?
Yeah.
Pole sana. And when it comes to the gaps,
Yes.
10,
Yes.
where are they? What areas should society be very sensitive to when it comes to the needs and any conversation on inclusive education and special needs in the society?
Yes, one of the gap that there is also understanding that developmental condition also require therapy. And then as we talk about inclusive education, you realize that in the mainstream schools, there are no therapists in those schools. So as much as the government is saying, let's have inclusive education, there are so many areas that will be factored in. Because for example, you have a child with cerebral palsy. This child needs to be in a mainstream school or a regular school. But as when they're receiving the education, they also require therapy. So there's a gap in that area, because you'll find
From the Institute of Curriculum Development in this very conversation, the concerns that Wanjiru is raising, the gaps that she is identifying, are they things that you can identify with as an institution?
Yeah, I think they are not basically for our institution only, but the wider education sector and even the society at large. Because one of the things that happens is that parents and even the community, they may not be aware on identifying that a child has a disability early enough. Because if early identification is done, then it would follow that this child will receive the appropriate intervention very early, and even identifying what kind of services this child needs very early, even before they join school.
Yes.
So that when all this is done, then we will mitigate on so many gaps. When this does not happen, the early identification, then it means this child may stay at home for long, parents still in denial, because nobody comes to talk to them, to guide them, to counsel them, and even to show them where this child should go. So most of the times you find that a child may be identified when they are even 15 years old and they have not received any education. So, you know, education should start early, because you need to learn what is age appropriate early enough. That's a big gap. And most of the Kenyan societies still, disability is regarded as a curse, as my panelist said. And these children are hidden for a long time. So it makes it difficult for even the government to cater for that child. Number two, you know that any person with a disability should be registered with the National Council for Persons with Disability, because that's when government knows that how many children do we have who have disability, and therefore planning can be done based on that statistics. Again, we have people on the ground called Education Assessment and Resource Center officers, EAC officers. So in terms of education, these are the people who should first do what we call assessment to these children to determine their nature of disability and even the level of functioning, even if they have that disability, and even now recommend or refer them for further interventions, even if they require treatment, medical treatment or whatever, and again placing them in the appropriate education program. Oh, those are gaps that are there.
Those are gaps.
Again,
that are there.
you find that most of our regular schools, because it is cheaper and easier for a child to go to the school that is nearby their home, so that the parents can have time to be taking care of this child. But you find that most of our regular schools are not ready to receive these children. I'm happy that recently in May this year, the President launched the new policy on education for persons with disabilities. And the main drive in that policy is that children with disabilities should be educated in regular schools. So it means the new focus will be to restructure the regular schools to receive these children, and that involves maybe looking at the physical environment for a child who may require to move in that environment. We then have to reorient our teachers who are in these schools so that those who are already practicing may be capacity built through maybe professional programs, so that they are able to support such a child who comes to their school, and even the equipment and materials that this child will need to be able to learn like the other children.
Right.
Again, then it means government has also to put more funding. We have to bring in more players, the development partners, like now the Ubuntu, so that they are also bringing in maybe resources and even the technical know-how from what they have come up with in terms of interaction with the society. So that as we move forward, any child who is identified with a disability is able to receive education in the neighboring school, because we want as much as possible that the parents of each child is involved in the education of their children. What's happening now is that you find that a child is coming from maybe Migori County and has to look for a school in Kisumu or even in Thika. Like myself, I was born in Homa Bay County.
Yes.
I had to learn in Thika because there were very few special schools.
Yeah.
So it was difficult for even my parents to come to visit the school. So I don't even remember one day when they came to school. And you know, they need to know what goes on in their children, isn't it?
That's very true.
Yeah.
Follow-up is key.
Yes.
So I'd like us to take a short break. I was earlier emphasizing a few points here and there when it comes to the gaps on inclusive education, special needs, and what exactly needs to be done. Something came up on early detection, Wanjura,
Yes.
and that is what I would like us to discuss
Yes.
right about now. What is the value, the importance of early detection when it comes to special needs?
With early intervention, when the parent identifies that, oh, the milestone development, because after birth, you know, there's a milestone development. By 8 months, the child is supposed to sit down. By 9 months, they're supposed to have the neck control. So if a parent is able to identify earlier enough, and then they start therapy, depending on the condition, you find that the child will be able to improve. And if there's no severe, also, if there's no complication, this child, by the time they are school going, they'll be able to join school and they will not miss a lot. So we emphasize a lot of early intervention, because at our center we have kids even 6 months, 8 months that we have already enrolled on therapy, so that we also work with the professionals. And the other thing that we also put in, also depending on the condition, is nutrition, because again, you'll find some of these conditions are very manageable. It would be issue of nutrition. It will be cricket, you know. And if there's so much delay at home, then the parent is starting looking for help when the child is 4 years, 5 years, then you find this child, by the time they're supposed to be in school, they'll be late. So the parent will delay at home. Then if the child has improved, then taking the child to school at 8 years, 9 years, that's why you find there is a lot of issues of delayed admission in the schools. Then when they're admitting them in the school, even teachers will have a hard time. Because if a child is 8 years or 9 years, they have been put with 4 years old, then there's a gap.
There's a gap.
Yes.
Definitely. And Beatrice?
Yes.
Earlier on, I think it was 3 weeks ago, I had an opportunity to sit with parents who have children who are living with cerebral palsy, CP. And the experiences they give, from a parent's point of view, heartbreaking. They go for therapy and they expect tomorrow, or at least in a month or two maximum,
yes,
this child should be back to the rail. This child should be up and right, you know. And one of them even broke down saying that she cannot believe it's been 6 years.
Yes, actually, even if I would say something about that, that's the other challenge that we face. Because we have identified that as a gap with the parent, so we start with educating the parent first, even about the condition. We take the parents through a process after we identify, oh, your child has cerebral palsy. So we educate the parent. What is cerebral palsy? So that they understand.
What does it mean?
Because we realize even the parent, there's a challenge for accepting.
It is a...
And then we wanted to change that narrative because we realize you cannot also love and care for what you don't know. So we educate the parent. Your child has cerebral palsy. This is what it means. You know, it's is it severe? You know, the degree of the condition, because you'll find also cerebral palsy also manifests itself differently. Because you could have 3 kids with cerebral palsy, but each of them it's different. You'll find the one who is spastic that will require a lot of therapy. Even the growth will be more, you know, will be less than the other. So we have a lot of education that is even needed with the parents. And then, as you were saying, parents also expect miracle. They want therapy now and the child to walk immediately.
Immediately, or even tomorrow. One of them said, I was expecting in a month.
Yes.
I wasn't going to be attending therapy. And now it's been 6 years.
Yes.
She's shuttling in between Kenya and India, trying to get treatment and everything.
Then it becomes...
mentally, she's very exhausted. She's wondering what next for my child. So because, Beatrice, you said that you handle therapy and you work with mothers who have kids with special needs. When they come to you for help, when they come to you for therapy, where do you begin?
What I would say, what goes on is that first you have to accept the situation. Just first say that this is my kid, and accept it as a blessing. This kid is a blessing. Don't say that this kid needs me, it has come to stress me. Just allow as a blessing to you, and then do the necessary, what is required for you to do. If the child needs to go to therapy, just continue going to the therapy. Just give the child love. You don't know whatever it may come across. Just give the child the love.
That's very true. Don't attempt to play God.
Yes.
Don't attempt to play God. Coming to you, Bonasonge.
Yes.
Earlier on, we discussed the policy that the president did endorse earlier, around May. May this year. And it is geared towards ensuring that children with special needs are able to get into regular schools. But then again, the question has been looming. How feasible is this? How practical and achievable is this? Right.
I think it is achievable, because there have been small pockets of learners with disabilities learning in regular schools, and they're doing well. They have performed. Some of them have gone to the university, those who are able to perform to that level. And if we really want to achieve inclusivity, that is the way to go. Because, as I mentioned earlier, imagine a child from early age always in a special school. And in some cases, if you talk to the teachers in those special schools, and some of us who are in the education sector, some of the parents don't even want to pick their children from school when the schools are closing. So it means this child will be isolated, and in the long run, this child needs to be back in the society. They have to function in the society. If it is employment, you will work with other people. There's no employment for people with disabilities designated somewhere, isn't it?
No.
So we have to do that if we want the society to accept people not to have this kind of stigma on disability. Basically, in our institute, what we have done is that first we have made sure we have done a curriculum, and especially in these reforms, we are doing curriculum reforms.
Yes.
We have made sure that we are doing a curriculum that is inclusive, that anybody who comes to school will have to learn. We have made sure that the regular curriculum has been adapted for learners who can follow that regular curriculum. If there are areas that we feel these learners may have difficulties, we have adapted. So, and we are training the teachers on how to go about that kind of curriculum.
Okay.
Then there are those learners who may not follow that regular curriculum because of the severity of their disability. So we have developed a unique curriculum for them, which they'll start. It has a starting point called foundation level, which is basically giving them the skills to be able to function in the environment. Like for children who have severe intellectual disabilities, what we have been calling mental disability. Now in the new policy it is called intellectual disability. And even children who have severe autism, severe cerebral palsy, which we have been talking about here, and even those who have multiple disabilities, those who are deafblind, they have both, they have lost their vision and their hearing at the same time. So such children, because of serious effect on their communication and on the brain, the brain is very important.
Yep.
If it is touched, if it didn't develop to the capacity required, then such a child may not learn the kind of content that the ordinary child is learning. So we have developed a unique curriculum for them, which will give them the skills, because sometimes they come to school, they don't have skills in toileting, they don't have skills in feeding even themselves. If you are given food, they can scoop even large amounts, put them in the mouth, and don't swallow, don't chew before they swallow. They just swallow it directly, which is dangerous for their life. Yes.
Yeah, it is indeed
so
a concern.
We have developed a curriculum that will impart in them those skills, and then as they move on, they'll move up to vocational level.
Up to the vocational level. Wanjiro, very fast, your final word, a parting shot to our viewers this morning. What would you like to share?
What I'd like to share is that we all embrace issues of inclusive education, and we broaden the talk, and because at the end of the day, as I have said, it's the information, the knowledge. If we all understand and know all these issues about disability, we'll be able to include everyone. And with that, we'll not have the issues of misunderstanding, because there's been a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to issues of disability.
That's true.
So for us, we'll also push more on education awareness, because one of the other things that there's a challenge is the awareness, the information. So we'll champion for inclusive education, that we have everybody included.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, ladies, thank you so much for coming to the show this morning. I'm sure there's a course dedicated to this on the 14th of July this year. We wish you all the best.
Yes.
Go out there and let's make sure that the message is felt and embraced by society.
Yes.
Absolutely. And thank you at home for watching Good Morning Kenya this very Wednesday. We haven't finished because Brenda Zeda Radido is coming up next with Crosstalk, and the panel has